We're in the last few days of springtime, for the summer solstice comes this Thursday when the sun moves into the sign of Cancer, and we're going to have a laser-like focus from 5 major planets asking us, where is the need for healing in yourself and in your life? This is your astrology weather forecast for June 18th to the 24th, 2018, and it is going to be the first quarter moon in Virgo this week. But before you start cleaning your house, our real intentions this week have a laser-like focus because we're going to have 5 retrograde planets. So we're being asked to pay attention to the beginning, where we restate our intention that we set in this moon cycle that began last week on the Gemini new moon. We are in a phase where, the intentions that you hold are fused with a fierceness and a focus unlike anything we've had for quite some time. The last days of springtime are filled with the Virgo moon on her way to Wednesday's first quarter moon crisis and turning point. That's number 1 and what I want you to remember about this week, because this is an internal challenge to look at that garden of ideas in your mind and again ask that question: am I on track with what I really want to be doing in this life? If there's anything that is really not true to self, out of focus, or you just know it isn't feeling right to you, then between Monday and Wednesday this week, the Virgo moon will help you with discernment, Virgo's greatest gift. We're also going to have some underwater games of sort of Olympic proportions, because the latter part of the week, whether we are up for it or not, we're going to have a deep dive into the intensity of our emotions and our feelings, because after the solstice, which is when the sun goes into the water sign of Cancer, the moon will also be in the sign of Scorpio water. So water and water, that's a deep dive. And we need to ask ourselves, who or what is our oxygen? What helps us breathe freely? The clean air that really invigorates all of us. So Monday through Wednesday, for all of you earth signs, that's Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, you rule. You have so much solid grounding ability to really heal, because Virgo is the place not only of let's do some closet cleaning, but Virgo is the place of healing, because she is the energy of being in service to others and using what our good earth provides for healing. So you may, however, as we go into Thursday and Friday, where we are going to have a Libra air moon, you may feel that your steady ground is sort of threatened by Libra's airy intellectualizations. But don't worry, it's really not true. And you're going to have such a creative period when the moon goes into Scorpio later in the week, because Earth holds water. And that is going to be a sense of completion for you. So for you air signs out there, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, you have lately undoubtedly been feeling that you can't quite catch your breath, that there's been a sense of really even suffocation, where you don't feel you're free to speak your mind, or that your freedom is somehow, in terms of your ideas, been restricted. But this does lift right after uh, the first quarter moon on Wednesday, because the moon goes into Libra Wednesday afternoon Pacific time, and will be there all day Thursday and into Friday morning. So you are get a breath of fresh air for sure. But also remember, Mars since May 15th is now in the air sign of Aquarius. So you have a kickstart that is firing up your ideas in particular, and especially the things to do with Mars in Aquarius, the humanitarian efforts, really teamwork. That is going to be a key skill. Well, teamwork is going to be working much better for you to get things done. Let me put it that way. Now, for you water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, your emotions are springing back to life as soon as the sun enters Cancer on the solstice. And by the way, I always keep the current sun sign, a description of it, on the welcome page of my website. So feel free to look through that to get the relationship between the sun, which is your yang to-do energy, with the current moon sign, which is your to-be, your yin energy. Okay, so now for you water signs, you're going to be taking a very daring dive into these intense feelings that no question you're going to have here from Friday afternoon all day Saturday and Sunday until the evening. There is a caution I would give you, especially on Saturday, because in the morning there's a bit of a rub from, and you may find yourself trying to pick a fight with somebody, have a little argument under the disguise of, quote, discussion, unquote. But by evening, you really have Lady Luck with you, and you're going to download a genius solution to what was bothering you earlier in that day. So the sun in the water sign of Cancer and the moon in the water sign of Scorpio, for everybody, this combination is really going to raise your awareness about family issues that have perhaps been, well, buried or at least kept secret. Something is going to get brought to the surface. Your lunar sonar, we all have that in our intuitive self, where we're always sending out some signals, some radar, to sort of pick up on what is the energy all around us. So issues of life and death and of transformation and metamorphosis are going to be forefront for all of us. When you think about the yang energy in that Cancer sun, it's really going to bring action to the growth that we have been having, but perhaps we haven't yet used it, or we haven't really stepped in and owned it. Sort of like those crabs who, they're growing, 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 the shell gets too tight, and then suddenly there's a molting. That's really the energy, well, that all of us are going to feel. It's just depending on your sun sign and your moon sign, whether it's going to be very comfortable for you or you're going to feel it's a sort of a wincing vulnerability. But nevertheless, it's going to be good for all of us because we really have over the past, well, actually over the past whole year, but especially since May 15th, we have been outgrowing our old self. So welcome this alchemical change, this metamorphosis. It is really going to be good for you, for all of us. So water signs, you are in your element now, and especially the end of this week. So for you fire signs out there, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius, after the summer solstice, the only wind in your sails is going to be coming from Warrior Mars in Aquarius. Now, that's not bad news. That's sort of the only combustion and creativity that's coming your way, but it is blockbuster. You are going to take the right actions because Mars is going to act like a catalyst for you. And since Mars is going to be in Aquarius a very long time because of his retrograde motion, he's going to be there from May 15th to November 15th. He'll go back into Capricorn just for a short time in the summer. But these are going to be times for you of sort of gale force winds, right? But you're going to harness all that. I know that you are. Mars's protracted stay in Aquarius is for all of us a sort of a boost in yang energy for achieving our goals, particularly human rights. And we're going to achieve those goals through some really ingenious means, ingenious solutions. And again, especially if we work on those solutions in a team. Teamwork is everything. And for all of us, Mars is shifting our approach to conflict and adding some intellectual objectivity to what otherwise are things we might really get pissed off about. But our anger is going to be thrown into the Mars cauldron, that alchemical cauldron. And so we can step back and sort of just let that percolate, let that, come together for us, because the shift from anger to fierceness is going to evolve naturally. I want us all to think of it as an intention always when we find that anger rising in ourselves, which I have sometimes when I glance at the news headlines. I have, my ego wants to get involved and have me be upset instantly, right? But of course, there's absolutely no point in that. And so I try to catch myself. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes not. But to remind myself that when I really download that wonderful goddess energy, that wonderful yin energy that's so strong in 2018, then I have access to a fierceness in me that stands up for myself and that really helps me speak my mind. And that's true for all of us. So that gale force wind I was talking about earlier is going to be really acute around July 27th. And I know that seems like it's a far off date, but I want you to put a whole lot of stars on your calendar because we're going to have a phenomenal event. Well, several events. First of all, as I mentioned to you before, it's going to be the honey moon. So it is going to be a lunar eclipse and full moon in the sign of Aquarius. And Mars is going to be a big part of that because at the same time, this is when Mars just so happens to be in that second flyby to Earth's orbit. That the first one we had was in 2003 when Mars was the closest that he's ever come to the Earth in 60,000 years. That's a long time. Things are definitely shifting, right? Now, this second flyby in July, between the 27th and the 31st in particular, uh, is not as close as 2003, but it's close enough to make a big difference. So we are going to have Mars. Well, really, the lineup is the Sun, then Earth, then Moon, and then Mars, all in the lineup on the lunar eclipse, July 27th. I can't wait to see what events are going to manifest from this because there is definitely going to be a shift. And, we really need it, right? Looking at the world stage, the one thing I can say is I don't want it to stay the same, right? I want it to shift. And if we think about the objectivity we're having, the gift of that, with the Capricorn planets and with the god of lightning now in Taurus Earth, we really have an opportunity for really stepping back and without fear watching the patriarchal crumble, because that's actually what we're seeing. Archetypally, we've had this in our media, like movies, or that television series that was actually called House of Cards. It was prophetic, right? Because it is about the patriarchal House of Cards just literally falling, perhaps one at a time, but whatever is still standing on July 27th, I can't believe it isn't going to just simply collapse. But it's all good news because we really want that to happen, because we're going to see that beneath it, all through the past 7 years, we have been building that network of mutuality, that network of the World Wide Web, a yin network of communication and cooperation with all other people. And we're going to see that that's where the real strength is, because that one is infused with the energy of love. How beautiful. Now, even though the stage right now is set by some men and politicians trying still to hold up sort of that hierarchical dictatorship and using that approach to problem solving, I guarantee it's not going to continue to work if it ever did. So we're going to consciously decide to look with the light of love at each other. We're going to look at each other using that light to see that, the body is just a shadow around the goodness and the beauty that is our true self. It's sort of like our choice being, do we want to just watch the lampshade, or do we want to really focus on the light that it would try to cover? Because that's where our peace and fulfillment is really going to come now. So let me also just end with the heads up about what is to come. So I've already covered the 27th of July and that big event, and then that this June we are going to have on the 26th, we're going to have that lovely full honeymoon, and that will be an enlightening culmination. And I'm going to say more about that next time. Also, we're looking ahead to the intensity of Uranus in still in that earth sign of Taurus, being in this cooperative thing with Sheriff Saturn. So I've joked a lot about Sheriff Saturn issuing infractions for coloring outside the lines and that sort of thing. But really, Sheriff Saturn is set up these sobrieties checkpoints so that we can really reorganize our life, especially during these times where we're going to have all these retrograde planets, because that's sort of a redo, a reorg, great opportunity. That's the way we want to think of it, right? For the life ahead of us. So I thank you for listening, and remember that I love to do individual readings or couples compatibility. So my love to all of you. Remember above all to love yourself. And hey, and also come back next week. Okay, bye for now.